Yep, call to order. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Treasurer Hart.
Here.
Trustee Babel. Here. Trustee Blackstock.
Here.
Trustee Knox. Here. Trustee Richley.
Here.
Clerk McKay here. Supervisor Westrick.
Here. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Agenda, everybody get a chance to take a look at that? I do not have any revisions this time. No additions.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Move to support it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Minutes for the regular and closed session. I trust everyone reviewed the closed session minutes here a little bit ago. Any questions, comments, any problems with that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, regular and closed session as presented.
Mr. Ritchley?
I support.
Table? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Presentations. Ms. Blackstock?
Hi, I'm Sarah Blackstock with the Parks Commission. Some people have been asking about some of our projects, so I'm here to update on our three big projects from this year. First one was the all-inclusive playgrounds that we put in at Manor Park and the Big Park. That was finally completed. It was a little bit over budget due to the inflation costs for delivery, installation, and the mulch. The next one is our fitness court. I presented that last year to you guys. That is midway through the process because we're getting donations from the local businesses. And when we started it, it was in the middle of everyone's budget fiscal year. So we're still collecting the donations that we need from DTE, Beaumont, McLaren. We have some money that came in from North Star, and then Dick's Sporting Goods has made a donation. And then we get somewhere between a 50 and 70,000 grant from the National Fitness Corp through Priority Health, and it used to be Total Health Care. So the grant money, as it's separated, depending on what we are awarded, will come from both Priority and Total Health, even though Priority has bought Total Health Care. The next is the kayak launch at the Bell River Park. And this project has been put on hold by the supervisor and the manager as we are reviewing our budget. It was put on hold after the bid was awarded because we found out that you guys did not approve the $125,000 that we had asked for original, but the budget that we required, plus, well, the rollover, that's another little story that we can talk about in a second. We were told when we were doing our budget that we had funds left, so what we asked, plus the funds we had left, covered the kayak launch. Now, over the last year, our budget has changed 3 times, and over the last 3 years, our worksheet that we use has changed as well. The account numbers have changed, the way it's done has changed, and in September of this year, or 2021, all of our individual line GL numbers, or amounts that we had budgeted, had all been moved up into the general fund balance. So since that time, we've questioning, where's our 120 from what we had saved for the kayak launch last year? Where's the 5,000? Because it was always allocated by project. Middle of the year, it's not by project anymore. So in a discussion with the manager and the supervisor, I received an email that said it does not include any funding for the Bell River project. And this is after we did the bid opening, and Cindy helped us put the bid package together. She helped us advertise for the bid. She came to both bid openings knowing that we didn't have the money on your guys' side, or given to us from you. Now, we had asked on multiple occasions about our budget, and yes, we should know our budget, but it's the first year that I've done it. And when they put everything up into the general fund as opposed to our allocations, whenever we took anything out, it showed a negative. It was never like, if we're using 5,000 for Manor Park, it was never brought down to keep it even or know how much we had. We also weren't aware that they used that 120 that we had saved last year to fill a budget deficit that they said we had. Now, every budget that I have printed out, and I have emails and budgets and reconciliations if you need, they're all a little different. The one from December of 2021 has everything allocated appropriately. Then the one in January that was printed January 25th has some of it still in the proper ledger items. The one that we received, the January, on February 19th, and our meeting was on February 7th, is totally different. And from the start of January, in parentheses is negative, it shows that we started with an operating budget of negative $139,000. Questions are asked all the way through, and we've been working on it the whole time. And Cindy, over the last 2 weeks, has done some math, and the way that she went through, the way it's usually done, showed us in the green last year by $2,000. So the 3 asks or action items that I have for this evening is, one, that we're allowed to meet with the accountant and go through our budget and figure out how it is set up and how they're allocating those funds and how they came out with a negative when we came out with a $2,000 surplus.
For 2021 year end?
Yes. And so that we can understand our budget better as well. The second ask or action item is for a budget amendment with some funds. First section would be the $25,000 that was set aside for the recreation department. Since we did not have any rec, we had no cost for it. So that $25,000 that was set aside for that to be transferred. $60,000 from the American Rescue Plan funds that the township had received. And then $60,000 from the state coronavirus funds that the county has received.
Which ones?
The coronavirus from the state of Michigan?
This is money you're asking for?
Yes,
25 for the rec department, 60 from the, is that the ARPA fund?
yes.
For what purpose would the funds after being transferred be used?
To finish the seawall project for Bell River Park. Now, we printed out pictures of why, because I know some people don't understand why it's important.
Excuse me though, the numbers don't run, I just added those together, that's less than $100,000.
I'm so sorry. We still have $109,000. So our portion would be $109,000, and then the rest,
So 25, 60, and then what was the last 60?
60.
Just 25 and 60,
Nobody wants to.
60 times 2. One
Times
from
two.
the ARPA funds
right?
and one from the coronavirus funds.
I'm not familiar with the coronavirus fund is.
Neither am I.
You guys received $385,000.
ARPA fund.
Those are the
Thank you,
ARPA funds.
No, it's, in the minutes, it's separate. One is from the state and one is from the feds.
We had 2 different payments, but they're, I both considered ARPA funds.
ARPA funds, yeah.
Okay. Well, the township 2022 budget is not posted online, and I tried to get it so that we could try to figure out what was actually allocated to us, and we have not been able to receive it. And then some of the meeting minutes are missing online too. Like in the middle of summer, there are 3 meetings that are not online. And also the budget hearing where I presented last year, I was told that no minutes are kept for that meeting.
Yeah, not for budget workshops.
And then when you guys opened the actual budget discussion, all it says is it started at 7 and ended at 8:30. There's no minutes in that section either. So it's kind of hard to cross-reference what we asked for and the presentations and stuff of that nature when the documentation isn't available. Even though I know you said it doesn't matter what's on paper, it's still nice to have a paper trail.
Well,
we
it
still
matters, but
haven't-
what I'm saying is, what we have in the budget now is the $240,000 from the previous board, or whatever, approved for this year. You had
Well,
240,
the total
70,
amount
75 came in.
Was 348, was the total budget that I was expecting with our funds and the 240.
With the
So-
grant money and everything?
No, the grant money is, I don't even know why the grant money is in the budget, because we don't have the grants. We're applying for grants, and when Cindy and I worked together, I said, these are the grants we're going after. And then when I got the final budget from Cindy, it had grant money as income, so I don't know if it took away from other areas of what, from the 240 that she was giving us, but when we did the worksheet on the stuff that I had on paper with the handwritten, and then the one that we worked together, because she had COVID and did it online, and then the final one that came out, they were all a little different. Because when we were online, Corinne had a screen share up, and the 125 that I asked for was in the spot for the Bell River Park. But then she asked for a total ask, and I said 240. Because at that time, we had 160 something in our fund balance. So my 167 is what I was going off of, and then your 240 that we asked to equal the 348 that we needed to complete the 3 major projects we needed this year.
But did we adapt their budget, or did we modify it?
On August
They
8th,
didn't
I got
have
an
a
email that
budget.
said the 240.75 was approved, but the funding does not include the Bow River project.
Yeah, the 2021, from what I could see, was $190,000 from the general fund to the Parks Commission. And the 2022 budget, as approved, has $240,775 to the parks from the general fund.
And we had 100, when we were doing the budget in October, we had 167,000 in our fund. So your 240 and our
I
67.
think that's close to what we had on there. Yeah, and then you had a 60,000 deficit at the end of the year, so it was like
But that's what we
107.
can't find, because we did the work and it shows we had a $2,000 surplus.
We can go over those numbers with you, but I see what you're saying, but that 167 plus or minus plus the 240 is about 400,000 roughly.
And we needed 349 or 342 to make everything work.
Do you guys see,
You're tracking to be 100% of 240,000 right now. with your
392,600. That's what, this is my worksheet when I was working with Cindy. When we added it all together with your funds and what we had, it came to 392,600.
I think you're confusing the operating portion from the capital portion maybe or something, but 240, and I don't have the budget in front of me. I thought you were having a presentation on the projects. I didn't know you were going to go into this, but your expenditures from the revenue side of it are on par to equal about 240,000 for operation this year. So that would leave you no money left over for any more capital improvement this year. You would have what you have left in the bank, which 109, I think they said, but without the loss it'd be 167, okay. So that still wouldn't give you enough to cover the launch of 220,000, was that roughly what it was? I just heard it
242.
was over 200, we saw it there, but, so
But
that,
we had, the thing is, we had the 120 set aside just for that project.
yeah,
do you guys get a revenue expenditure report every month or every quarter or anything like that? Like that shows your incoming and outgoing, or no?
It's
To track where
sorta.
you're at?
Sorta.
Well,
The
line
problem
items
is, we
aren't
don't get
filled
it
in.
until a week after our
They're
meeting.
not?
We don't get it till a week after our meeting, and it's not always easy to read.
Well, the revenue expenditures don't get done until the second board meeting of the township board, because that's how long it takes for the end of the month stuff to all come in and get processed for the previous month. There's a lag. So
I
it can't
understand
be
one
right
month.
away.
Right, I understand 1 month lag, we're the second Wednesday of the month. So if you're the fourth, whatever, that's 3 weeks to have it reconciled to get to us. And I always get them, always, 1 week after. I can probably tell you one time last year where I got it on time, and because I emailed and asked for it the day of the meeting. So we're 2 months behind when we're going through it. And we've asked, Deanna's asked, Cindy's asked, I've asked, where is this fund, where is that fund? Because all of our columns are zero. They moved all of our money and said, and again, I have it in an email, doesn't matter where the money is, as you take it, you're gonna allocate it to the project, and it'll show a negative balance.
Showing it as a single line in the capital projects fund.
I'm sorry?
showing all their stuff in a single line in the capital projects fund.
As far as,
All the park money is a single line, is being folded into the capital projects fund instead of being
the
showed as a separate
township?
line like it was before in the park budget.
well, so just to be clear, the park budget is really separate from our GL accounting. So,
That's what I thought. That's why I'm wondering why we're saying it got folded back into the township's budget.
I'm not sure I
I
can
don't
explain
see-
it.
Yeah, I don't see how that could happen if you're gonna keep two separate budgets.
Well, there is the park budget, which again, the board does not approve.
That's right.
The board only approves what the bottom line operating allocation is, that is the one line item.
Right.
So the park commission could adjust their budget at any time throughout the year, and the board would not be involved in that.
Right, yeah, the only thing I could see is the 50,000 increase from last year to this year's budget, the 190 to 240.
And that was because of the mistake of not including the installation of the playground equipment, so you had asked for that extra money.
Yeah.
We didn't ask you guys for that.
We voted on it.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that, because I said, how was that missed? The installation of the playground equipment, and so then they had
Well,
approved.
it was missed originally, it wasn't quoted on the original invoices, and then we were told that DPW had to do it. And then, when DPW wasn't doing it, we asked them,
Right,
And
and
that's
that's
where
where
the
the
cost
other
came.
50,000 came from, because,
That's why
yes.
the previous budget.
but
Yeah,
even
Yeah,
us,
I
we
did-
went through
There's no
every,
explanation for that, it just shows,
Yeah, that's why
That's
there
the only
was
thing
the
I could
extra
see, is
50.
there's-
we've gone through every voucher,
But I mean, we approve a
And
bottom
every
line.
payroll and every
They do their own
expense.
budget.
and Cindy had it coming out with us having, even with the added expenditures, because some was paid out of 2020, some was paid out of 2021. So, when she did it, basic math style, we were a $2,000,
You thought you carried over a certain amount of money from 21 to 22, but that apparently did not happen.
correct.
$120,000.
Not $120,000.
Well, it was in the budget of 21, and when unspent, goes into your fund balance.
But then it shows that it only, when we look at our line item in January, now it's gone in February, but in January, it only said we had 1,400 in there, which was our first invoice that was paid to PCE. But it shows us that's all that we have. And like I said, I have 300 copies of our budget that show that we started
We don't
negative.
account for carryovers on our end. Once the budget year closes, anything that's left
their money does carry over.
stays in your fund balance, that 208 fund, which was created so that you could manage that on your own. And that's your savings account, essentially. So after the year end, that will not show up in your budget again because it's off to the side. Now, if you need it, you would allocate it up to a project and pull it out of your fund balance.
Is that still available to them?
It said that our fund balance
According to
was
the
only the
report
240 that you guys gave us.
that I shared with you earlier, let's see, year-to-date.
The last one I got showed it was 109,000.
Yeah, I don't have,
And what was the date on
Okay.
that?
Expected to be
Huh?
about 120
What date
plus
was that?
Whatever they have.
August 31st? August 31st, it said in our North Star mutual account, it was $109,000.
right.
So where's the
that's the
120,000
208.
carried over the 2 years before that?
Well, that is part of it, and there were over expenditures.
So the
That I believe-
120,000 went to balance the budget? The 208 fund, I guess I was under the impression that the project money wasn't going to balance the budget. The project money was there, it was for that project. The 208 fund, I guess, is confusing.
No.
When you changed to the 208 fund, you had told us that money would carry over for those projects.
Well, again, using the word carryover means there's some action taken. At the end of the year, things that you have collected revenue for If there was not a need for those things, whatever they were, goes in your fund balance. And we have no access to that unless you tell us to reallocate it up to a project of some sort.
Then how did it go from
Can't tell you.
the 120 to the 109 when we only had a $1,400 invoice and then a
But again,
$6,000?
you'll have to look at your fund balance and see at what time was money put in and what was it taken out for. Could it
Well,
have
according
been
to the budget that I got in
cover your
January,
budget?
which I was told I was reading wrong, it showed that we were negative from the start of the year.
Right, it's
Well,
possible.
this is just,
Not in your fund balance, but you may
No,
have
the
had
whole
it.
budget sheet
Right.
said that we were negative by 130,000 in the beginning of January, or January
Again, I don't
25th.
think this is gonna be really
I was working
helpful.
on,
Is that what they
The
do when
2023
they have a
one.
negative operating budget? When you roll over at the end of the year, they have money that they did not use this, but they had intended for the project. You just paid the overage, and put the balance back in the fund balance.
Doesn't sound like it.
That's why the numbers come out.
It's their budget. I really can't.
They think you don't
I don't know all the
take
details.
the
I just know that it's,
balance for the project doesn't get touched. That's
no,
not
I'm
true.
not.
If you're short at the end of the year, and you're doing the budget, whatever you've got anywhere is used to fill up.
It's all
Operating
different
budget
now.
is
It's
zero.
not like we
The
used
rest
to
of
do
it
it.
stays in.
We used to have it all in
That's all we want.
there. I
So, and you want to look at that.
I got another question though, folks.
Anymore.
We've been looking for projects to spend on that ARPA money. $350,000 roughly, two checks.
Total.
That canoe project might be a nice little project to specifically specify for that ARPA money, or a piece of that ARPA money. They keep asking me, do I have any projects? Okay, we got a project.
You mean the
Why don't we-
seawall?
Why don't we use it? The seawall,
seawall.
whatever that.
Got it on here too.
And just let it
I
ride
brought
at
photos
that.
so you guys could see why we, because the question arose why
Yeah.
we need the seawall.
Discuss this during the budget meeting. Because
So
everybody had
here's,
a table
Okay, 2021
is where our sidewalk
raising our
is.
millage.
The actual.
Was a
canoe launch
negative
is this
74,000.
far out. So that's the first
We
one.
had a long discussion on this.
And then here it
I'm
is.
sorry, I don't want to
covered.
get too technical, I'm just saying, we've been arguing about where the money is and here and there and there. We've also had a separate project that says, do do we have any projects that we can use to spend this ARPA money? Well, this sure sounds like one. And even though it doesn't.
Well, we
spend it all,
have
it's
DPW
something-
buildings to be built
Is
and
that something, you
possible
ain't gonna build
expansion
a
of the house.
DPW building for $300,000, come on.
Well, obviously, but it could be applied
But
to
this
that
one,
or a
this one
portion.
doesn't even use the whole money, and it's something you can get done, and you've gotta get it done by, what, April of next year? Spend the money
Has to
by,
be committed by 2024 and spent by 26.
anyway, there's a possibility I would
think
throw
that's
out
a great
as
idea.
as a solution to this whole thing, when then they can get together and learn out how to run the budgets and so that they understand what's on all the papers. But that'd take care of that project and also give us a item to specify that we've used the ARPA money for something. Because it's laying in that account right now, I keep getting in.
Is there
I
grant
keep
money
getting
that's
notes.
being
Do you have
applied
any
toward that or
ideas?
no?
No, the
There's
only
none.
grant, I don't know, we discussed about the grant has to be specifically for the fitness center because it's coming from them. It's how they entice you to do the fitness center.
Right.
The fitness court. They give it to you as basically a deduction. And then you go and try to get more grants or more sponsorships or donations to cover the rest. So, and we're still looking for money on our own for this, from local grants, and I was on the actual federal grant website today looking.
Yeah, face it.
No, for the
We
seawall.
manage the park, but the park belongs to East China.
Exactly.
6 parks,
Huh?
6 parks.
Well, there's 6 of them. I'm talking about the ones that under question at the moment.
I have a question. Are we under contract to Malcolm Marine to do
Yes.
this?
Yes, we are.
I would suggest that we get the money and get it to him as a good.
My concern is that they were aware we didn't have the money and let us continue with the bid process. Without
Exactly.
saying, hey, have you looked at your budget? Until after it was already bid out, then we started getting emails saying there's an issue with the budget.
We don't watch your budget. when the minutes came through that you awarded that, and I was reviewing all of the budgets like we do at every month, we have a meeting, but you include all of the financials, I'm like, I don't see where you had the money to pay for it. That's where that came from. I'm like, unless you had some money that I didn't know about, and I didn't understand the process either, what you said, the 125 is actually what you said you had put away before, which is true. But that money it's in your fund, but if you run 60,000 in deficit like you did at the end of last year, that 60,000 comes out of the 125. You know, you did have money to begin with at last year when you started, 60,000 less at the end of the year than you had at the beginning of the year because of the deficit in operating.
Well, that's why we need to sit with the accountant and find out where that was, because we did this in October of last year, and we had all the money still there. So somehow we spent
You want to-
$60,000 in October, November, and December.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a meeting
Yes.
probably.
Well, I think-
In 2021,
I
somehow,
think
you're saying that
regarding with
we,
that, we can get with the treasurer and the accounting and go through that to try to make it more clear for you, but I know that you said, well, you can't think, the 125 is always there. If you run a deficit, the money is not gonna come from the air, it has to come out of that.
and
So-
again, we didn't get our budget until February after it was approved, and we didn't get our closing of December 2021 until February, with an email stating, you can't count these numbers as real until June. So if we don't have concrete numbers, and we went back through and we've been reviewing it because it's changed middle of the year, it's hard to stay to a budget when we're not getting the data timely.
I don't think
Completely.
we changed their budget at all this year so far.
No, it changed in September of 2021, and we weren't even notified. Deanna had to tell us, hey, the project 96700 is gone. It's now 96003. You took the money that we had in there, and there was 90,000 in there, and all of a sudden it was down to 40 or 48. And then starting in January, it was down to 40. And they said we budgeted for 40 for that line item, and we didn't even know that line item was there. Because the email didn't come to us. It only went to Deanna, the people in the office, Blaine, Charlie,
And this was in September, you're saying?
September of last year. And again, we were questioning, where are these funds? How did it go from our project cost to capital outlay with no discussion? But you say you don't manage our budget, yet you changed our GL numbers without even telling us.
I don't know if this is part of the conversion.
I was gonna say, that's
Most
that's
likely,
a
all the GL numbers.
statewide
had
update,
to change.
everybody's GL.
But what I'm
It
saying
really
is we
shouldn't
were left
affect
out
your
of that
budget.
loop
Yeah.
entirely.
But I mean, the GL number, whether it was 251 or 261, it doesn't
The dollar
change
amounts
the,
didn't
yeah, the
change.
dollar amount.
It went from project cost was what we were looking for, and which we had more money in there. So when we were trying to reconcile, as you're talking, how come we don't know our budget? We're trying to reconcile our project cost, and it was moved to capital outlay. Well, we already had money in capital outlay, so none of these numbers are jiving. Because the expense reports are coming with different numbers, not what was allocated to. So we had to go back and pull all the vouchers and try to figure out where these changes were made.
Would you have time to go over that with her and try to explain how
I
that
mean,
all
in-
works?
Corinne would know the GL number, which she has a spreadsheet.
What are you gonna
of-
use to balance her budget
was
if you
what?
don't?
But the problem is, like, when we had-
cough up the additional amount of money that requires them to operate and find out, make sure they do it better or don't do it next year. But if they come up short at the end of the year, we cough it up.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
You don't have a choice. That's the way it works.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I think there needs to be a meeting
just-
to get everyone on the
just
same
like any
page,
other
so they can
fund.
read their financials and know where they're at in a timely manner.
And that's why when PCE said, how much money do you have? I confidently said 245. Because from what we saw, it was 245. The 120 that we had, the 125 that I asked.
The
And-
issue as well is that apparently we're not managing their budget But for the last 30 years, we were.
You sure are.
Exactly.
We watched it like a hawk. I know, because when I was the chairman up
Yes.
there, they took money away from me whenever they wanted to. We weren't in charge of our budget.
Correct.
We didn't have anything to say about it. So this whole management and them taking on more responsibility without a staff is new. So there was a lot of miscommunication here. I also don't understand how your line items can be eliminated so that you can't manage maintenance fees or anything else, and it's lumped into one number, and then you just deduct it. That makes absolutely no sense to me from a budget standpoint. So I would look into that and figure out why that happened.
The budget that Cindy did from, we were looking at them last night. She did a 19 for 20.
That was operating costs.
What?
That was operating cost,
Yeah, but still the sheet was changed. The one from 19 to 20 had
that changed.
10 items. The one from 20, or 18 to 19, 19 to 20, no, 19 to 20, because I did 22. The next year up had 4 more line items. The next year up had 3 less line items. And then this year had just, the retirement was in one, and like the first year they did it, I mean, we're paying the union dues, the retirement, the health insurance, the eye insurance, the life insurance that we weren't paying before. So that's another big chunk, especially when that goes up. We're not notified that it's going up, but we're going back through, and it went from one union dues alone, I think it was, went from $650 a month to $775. Yes, we look at it, but that adds up over time. And when we question it, we're not getting the answers. So I'll take responsibility that we under budgeted. But with all the changes going on in my first year, and not a lot of support going through it, and things that we set and go through when the final gets approved to you guys is totally different than what we worked on, it's gonna cause an error. So again, our action items that we ask for, if possible, is to sit down with the accountant, to go through how she figures out how it goes from the revenue. Oh, that's my other question. We budget revenue from renting out the pavilions. So our budget line says $10,000. We rent a pavilion for $400. Our available balance now shows $9,425. So our revenue is going down, even though we're actually getting revenue.
No, that's a balance to collect yet, that you have
Yeah.
left. You collected $400, you have $9,600 left to collect, is what that means.
Okay.
Just like on the
Yeah.
expenditure
Well, I'm not an
side.
accountant, we've already proved that.
Yeah,
You made it quite clear that my math skills were poor.
Yeah, well,
but-
it's very hard to read it, I get that.
Yeah, it looks like it's backwards,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's
So the
like
whole time
you're
you're looking
expected
at
to
it-
get that much, and then
Yes.
when you get some, it takes it off the balance, and
And
that's
then our available balance is,
On the expenditure
Different.
side, that's the available balance left to spend. So on the revenue side, it's
With you, Sarah,
what
it
to
took me
collect.
8 years to figure out how to do the
We're not gonna solve this tonight at the
No,
board
we
meeting.
need
Right,
It'll
right,
be a
right.
separate
Why don't
meeting.
we
Meeting.
agree to let them have
We're
this
not,
meeting
and
and
they're
we'll-
responsible.
That's what I said, we're gonna try to get
I've been
the
on
treasurer and
commissions
Corinne
since
involved and go over
2006.
that stuff.
Yeah.
We would never have signed a contract with Malcolm Marine to do this project. If we had realized the $125,000 hadn't been added to the $120, we didn't know about the overages for the playground equipment until after. There's no way, the seawall project would have been put on hold, we would have never signed the contract, we'd have never asked it was put out for bid, there were 7 bidders. They put all their time into doing all of those bids, presenting them, coming to the bid opening, and I have to believe somebody knew that the money wasn't there
beforehand.
beforehand, and let us go ahead and go ahead with it. It was our responsibility to make sure it was there. I'll take responsibility for that too. We should have sat somebody down, go through this with us, where is this, make sure the money was there before we ever put it up for bid. But there's no way we would have put Malcolm Marine in this position, never.
Well, that's kind of why I brought that up, that I didn't know where you were getting the money. Also, from what I understood, it's like twice as much as you thought the project was gonna cost?
No, No.
No, because I originally bid 245 and I came in at 241 or
No,
242.
Sarah, let me-
I thought it was
Let me do
125.
the background. The-
Okay,
In
all right.
2019, I'll just quickly go through this. 2019, the water level started coming up. 2020, we were getting ready to apply for an Eagle grant, or Eagle permit to do the seawall. We were only gonna do the portion that had been developed. I met with the Eagle representative, I met at one time with Dave Malcolm, I met with Steve Faselli. They went over what a general cost for doing that portion would be. Steve Faselli gave me a ballpark idea. That's where the $120,000 figure came from. So that was ballpark, that wasn't a bid, that was not anything at that point. It took a year to get the Eagle permit. In 2020, in the summer of 2020, at our meeting, we were going to go ahead and vote on doing the seawall for that portion of the project. And two people on our board decided and talked to everyone else about doing the entire property. And the entire property was double, just about, of what the developed part was. So then I had to go back to the Eagle representative. Everyone voted in the affirmative. I was really not in favor of it. The next day, I met with Cindy outside at the picnic table and Larry Simons and went over all of it. I was very upset about trying to do the whole seawall. There's no seawalls allowed on Bell River and any of the small rivers. It was a truly difficult thing to get a permit to do the seawall.
That's why it took over a year to get it.
And I have emails from the Eagle representative, from Kathleen Fairchild, and how long it took. She hadn't realized that it had been going on for so long, and I had written, a couple letters to her, emails. Anyway, the extra $125,000 was budgeted to do the entire project, to do the entire piece of property. That's where the two amounts came from. The 120 was for the original where it was developed already, so we didn't lose what we had already put into it, and the rest of it went to the property line. So that's where the rest of the money came from, what we were asking for.
And after everyone came out.
Additional 125 to do the rest, but you
Correct.
never got it, right?
Correct. But
And after everyone came out and started looking at it, I mean, you can see on the picture with the erosion and stuff, it was deemed that it was necessary to go all the way across to save the property and to save the already $200,000-ish that they put in to do all the cement, to do the kayak launch itself, and to keep that property viable.
we didn't purchase that property, the township did. And we had an offer from the county to do the kayak launch. They gave you the launch, but you had to have the handicapped accessible access to the launch. You had to. So as we did it, and Herb was involved in helping me, with that. At the time, we bid it out. We opened the bids at a bid opening, just like we did for the seawall project. And planned for that. We put money away for that. We were, and we thought we were being the very same amount of responsibility for this. We really did. Nobody had, like I said, there's no way that we would have asked people to bid on this project without thinking the money was there.
Well, why don't we try that? We'll make sure you understand where the budget's at and go from there, and then I guess we'll.
Well, I think, I'm sorry to use these terms, but I think they need training with our financial people so that they understand what
I think
they're
that's a
looking at.
wonderful idea.
I think that they understand what they're looking at.
And I don't think it
I
needs
would
to
like
come
to
from our
propose that,
bookkeeper. I think it needs to come from the accountant.
I like, to propose that that be set up and be done. And I'm still think we can solve this other problem and solve our problem with respect to what to do with the ARPA money, or at least a piece of it.
We don't have a problem with spending that money. We can-
Yes, you do. You don't have any specific projects for that ARPA money of $378,000, because I keep getting asked in the emails, hey, you got any projects? So, we got a project.
A lot.
I don't know what the rest of you think, that's a pretty good project. And you got and it got all the background as to why it needs to be done. Why don't we just fund that project?
So
It
is
is an East China
The
project.
bid for this year or in the spring of next year?
They wanted to start in September
Mr. Malcolm had the steel on.
because they're going on
He had the
vacation.
steel on his barge. He had his excavator down at the site,
Oh, yeah.
and we had to call him and tell him to stop the project.
I see.
Then he had a meeting with the supervisor. He stopped by his office and he suggested to him, supervisor suggested to Malcolm that he take partial payment now, partial payment later, partial payment the next year.
That's not what I said. He asked about that.
That's exactly what you emailed me that you
Yeah.
said.
No, he asked about.
You said
get
you
payment in-
suggested he do this.
Get the additional payment in January. And I said, well, I
You
don't
don't
think,
have to wait till January. You've got ARPA money right now in your account. You wouldn't have any trouble.
well, they said that you
Well, they're okay to
proposed to
split
pay
the
them in
payment.
January.
So, again, so that you
get
guys can
one
continue
before
with
he
your
finishes his job
meeting.
anyway.
Right.
The action items I'm asking for the park commission is for us to meet with the accountant, like Cindy said, not a bookkeeper, but the one that's setting it up to thoroughly explain how we're misreading it, requesting the money that was set aside,
CPA,
Huh?
the CPA.
yes,
Absolutely.
the money that was set aside for the Parks and Recs, since there wasn't any this year, which is about $25,000, and then the rest to come from the coronavirus funds.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else think this project, besides me, or am I talking to the air again? I know the
I'm
supervisor.
not talking to the air
friendly about
again.
it, but
I'm with
Anybody
you
else think
too.
this might be a good project to use 220 some of that $375 or $370,000 of ARPA money on a specific project is a good idea?
I don't
Part
think it's
of
a
it
good
at
idea.
least.
I don't.
Part of it at least.
But
At
yeah,
least part of it, like, they've got a few bucks, but, you know, we could solve this whole problem by getting them trained, using the ARPA money to finish the project.
Like I said,
What are we
we're still-
arguing about?
We're still looking like we've applied for a couple of grants for it too, but the deadline's not until the end of the month, and we started, excuse my French, busting our asses when we realized that the money wasn't there. I'm not coming in and asking for it because we're twiddling our thumbs and not doing anything. We're asking for a safety net so we can finish what we started, and, I mean, I believe that Malcolm could actually sue us for offering the bid and not being able to finish it.
So what is needed this year to start the project and get
Well, I
us
told-
through the budget process?
they need $125,000.
125,000. Well, the GAT would get that project started or completed?
Is the 120 sitting in a fund balance, is that what you're telling us, or?
No.
The total bid for Malcolm Marine was 200, Anthony, do you know?
242.
No, 224, wasn't it?
That's close, 242, I thought it was.
242.
I know it was under 245, just under.
Yeah, I thought it was like 225.
I mean, I have it in the car, I
It was
can go.
245. I thought the next one, Raymond Excavating was the next highest.
And how
I have
much
a
do they
meeting with
have?
Malcolm, but I told him I wanted to come to this meeting first to see, and then I'm meeting with Diane and Dave, Malcolm, to discuss where we're gonna go from here.
He'd finish that job before the winter, if he started now.
Yes.
Oh, he wanted to.
So we're not talking about next year.
Yeah, they wanted to get it done, but I can talk to him about payment, as long as he knows he's gonna get the full sum. So if we get a safety net, guarantee, and we keep applying for the grants, if we get one of those grants, it could be less. But I have to give him an answer.
What about giving them half for this year and budget the rest of the other half for 2023's budget, for their budget? Would that work?
If Mr. Malcolm agrees to that, but that's not what the contract,
So, 224,
I thought it was 224.
sorry, 224,632.
Is what the bid came in at?
That's
Yeah.
the bid.
224,632?
Correct.
224,632, okay.
And how much money do you have now to this project that you can actually lay your hands on now?
If they finish within budget this year and do not go over in expenditures, they'll have $109,000.
So they've got 109. Okay, then why
We
don't,
sat down,
why
sat
don't
down
we,
yesterday.
why don't we vote to use the difference of $115,000 out of the APR funds to complete the project?
But again, the money
Don't
was
get
budgeted
ahead,
for
get ahead of the game.
I would be fine with that. I think it would be, if we could, if they were able to work with us to do half the money, if we have the ARPA funds to take 100 or 100, even 124, and if they can come up with the 100 in their whatever, and then if they can work out the difference for next year's budget, come January 1st, boom. We have more money available, and they can,
I don't
Sounds
believe
good to
that
me.
there's huge projects for next year. We maybe got a little over our heads with the 2 playgrounds and the seawall, but the seawall was taking so long, and then the playgrounds, we had money set aside
Right.
for that. And, you know,
Right, just keep
nobody
going up.
is doing the park job for the money that's in it. We get paid $25
I know.
per meeting.
I
And we put
understand.
Like that all
a
comes out
lot
of the budget.
of time and effort and thought into doing inclusive playground equipment. Everything we do in the park is accessible, and anything new is, you know, and I know we're taking up time from your meeting. I understand that, and I'm sorry.
Can we make that a motion?
When I talked to Mr. Malcolm, he stopped at my place, he said something about he'd be okay with getting the balance of that out of next year's budget in January, but I can't speak for that.
I haven't spoken to him yet, so
Yeah,
I can't collaborate that story.
he mentioned that you said that to him, but I don't know if that's true or not. And he said, as long as we could guarantee him the money.
But I said that to
I
him.
said, I can't guarantee anything, it's not my budget, so.
Is it a motion in order on this item?
Well, this isn't an item on the agenda.
Correct.
We don't have it on the
That-
agenda to
so-
do that right now,
the-
Ralph.
The
Yeah.
We
question,
could put it on the next agenda.
Right.
so, because I mean, this is the
Action
first
item.
time I've heard about it and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, good points were made and stuff. I think the thing that, because with the ARPA money, there's other things in our agenda tonight that I assume we're gonna be talking about that potentially not using those funds for.
ARPA money.
Yeah,
So big picture, I think we gotta kind of look at that.
right.
Well,
But
Ralph says we don't have projects that we want to spend money on. We just spent money with Anthony here for engineering to come up with an idea of cost for adding on to the township hall here. That's a project.
$354,000.
We don't need it all. We can put it in the bank and collect a little bit each year until we have it. That's kind of what we're doing.
Have a project
We
done
can't
by
go-
26,
We
2026.
can't go just spend it all right now.
I think
Why
it's
not?
potentially a good idea for the next meeting
Gift
is
off the top of the head.
using part of the UPRA money for this year, and if we can get Malcolm to agree to take next year and put that into their
balance.
budget, and, yeah, I think that would be a good compromise, potentially, if possible.
My last email from the supervisor was, he was going to be sitting down and get the budget and the finances for next year and get back to me. And that was the beginning of August.
But we're waiting for a budget from you and from other departments yet, right?
Yeah.
In
So you said you're
September.
gonna see what revenues and stuff you had after you met with them before you could decide.
Yeah, actually was given to me this morning.
She's $115,000
There's
short.
no revenue additional for us next
We
year.
have $350-some thousand of ARPA funds.
One
There's a
way or
place to get some of
another,
them.
I do feel that we need to fund the project and see it through. And not only just for our investment that we've already put into that park,
Yes.
to make it what it is, and it's used like crazy. I've been through there in a boat, and the sidewalk, actually at the end, there's no dirt anymore. It's eroding, and you're gonna lose that whole sidewalk coming down. I mean, we've already expended money to make that what it is. We need to maintain it and get it
And we've
in
been
order.
working on that since 2020 to try to get the permit.
And I remember the permit was taking a very long time.
I have emails from Katie Fairchild at Eagle telling me,
Well, I would suggest this discussion stops here because we're not getting anywhere and it goes on the next agenda.
Why are we fighting to
We-
not fund this?
Well, we don't have an item on this agenda to actually vote on it tonight anyway, or any paperwork to go with it. I know we've had discussion, but,
So we'll get a plan
yeah.
to get the
And
project
get more
funded, see
answers.
what they have in their account, what we're willing to offer out of the ARPA funds or whatever, and we can have that on the agenda and vote on it at the next meeting.
And you should see if
Good
Mr. Malcolm
idea.
will take,
I'm sorry?
see if Mr. Malcolm will take roughly $60,000 in January as a final payment. It'd probably be that long for him to file it and
Finish it
finish
up,
it anyway. You wouldn't get it normally before that anyway. But it will come out of next year's budget.
Restoration in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But I think from the sounds of it, we all agree that it needs to be done. I mean, it's just a matter of how, right?
right.
Be a nice addition to East China.
If East China owns 6 parks, if East China doesn't have the funding or doesn't have the want, the board doesn't want to keep up those parks, I mean, it's expensive. It's expensive to do anything in those parks. There was $16,000 in mulch on the new playground. We got a $5,000 grant from the park plan, which was really helpful for the mulch.
We could discuss selling a couple of parks for money too. I mean, that is an option.
And that would be sad. That would be really sad. East China's playing.
Herb?
It's a very nice park.
You're the liaison to
I
the
sit on my back deck and watch the
Parks
kids
Commission
playing
back to
on
the
it
board,
today.
right? You want to be
They love it.
involved in this conversation with them when they talk about all that, so you can try to help?
That's fine.
Is that all right? And maybe Herb can bring that back to the board with some information.
How
Is
it's
that-
being
Is
resolved.
that okay? I mean, you're kind of the liaison person to that board anyway, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
listening. Thank you for trying to understand
You're welcome.
the position.
Mm-hmm.
But there
Our
is
pleasure.
no way that we would put any of these contractors in that kind of a situation.
That's kind of why I brought it all up in the beginning. I didn't want to see us in that position. Well, we got public comment if you want to.
Thank you.
If there's anything.
Thank
That's
you.
only 3 minutes, isn't it?
Used it up.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Sarah,
presentation.
the things you were listing, of all the things you were surprised about, as far as dues, extra pension pains, all stuff that are, depends on your budget. I would recommend that you look at that carefully when you put your next budget in, because it's probably a lot more than you think it is. And it probably never, all the detail was never put in there before, because
Correct.
when I work on one that's simple, and I know about all the detail that comes in. You know, they talk about the salary of one guy. What I'm paying is almost double. All the stuff that you think, you thought you hired guys for 16 or 18 bucks an hour. It's 50 bucks an hour when you get done with all the other things that you need. So Mike, again, I'm sorry, I'm gonna shut up. I've been doing this for almost 12 years now. It took me
Go on to our
8 to
consent
figure out
agenda.
what the heck that revenue expense report looked like. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, so,
Consent agenda. Seeing there's no public comment. First one, building permit report, August 2022, Park Commission, July 2022 meeting minutes. Historical Commission, July 2022 meeting minutes. The Lot Split Board, August 2022 meeting minutes. Planning Commission, April 2022 meeting minutes. And the approval of training at the water plant, all consent items. Any questions on that?
I support any kind of trade, but you pretty well explained why they need to do it.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Ritchie?
Support.
Support, Mr. Knotts. I think we can, all in favor on that one?
Aye.
Aye.
yeah,
Opposed? Carried. Disbursements. 41,000, we got just numbers this time instead of exactly what they are. How about the treasurer read these ones? Are you all right with that?
I'm like, what?
Go
I
ahead.
know.
You know the account numbers. Anyway, disbursements.
Disbursements, I'll make a motion to, oh, you want me to read them all first?
Well, you can make a motion and then read them, that's fine. There'd be a motion and then read them.
All right.
yeah,
I'll
that
make-
was not,
Just
it's
read
not
it. You're
supposed to
gonna
be
have
like
No, it's not.
Do you know what they are?
Um,
One's payroll, one's.
yeah, these are checks and, let me see.
invoices, probably.
Yeah, checks,
You got
invoices,
EFTs.
EFT payments,
Payroll,
payroll, tax disbursements, and invoices,
there you go.
with a total of
AP,
1,500,000,
oh my.
That's not correct either, so.
no,
It's like 105,000. It can't be that.
wait a minute. No, I
No,
think,
it's $1 million.
yeah, because there was a lot of
You got
tax.
$500,000 in taxes.
Okay, in that case, you better get your ad machine out, 'cause everything adds up to more than.
I don't have one here.
I don't either.
I don't know. how-
Calculator, let's see.
What's the first one?
Herb, you got an ad machine?
Checks?
Yep,
Could probably do it faster by
No, these are probably
That
checks, the
total
first
can't be
one.
right, even close. There's probably another zero in there somewhere.
It looks like payroll, right, is the first one?
yes.
$41,263, $266.03. Checks, $342,243.61. EFTs of $61,097.56. Number 53, whatever that is $302.30. Tax payments, $498,715.28, and invoices are $62,372.26. Your motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
All right.
And there is
Clerk, please
another
call.
Point of
zero
order,
in
it's
there.
just missing a zero.
Yeah, it's 100.
1,005,000? Okay,
Extra zero. That
Yes.
might be in there, yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yeah,
That takes care of it.
Roll call vote. Treasurer Hart?
yes.
Trustee Babel? Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Rustrick?
Yes. Whole business utility building dispute policy, this has been marked up by our clerk, and our manager looked it over, I believe, too. So everybody had a chance to read it, be honest.
Yes. I did.
Okay. Do you have any comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I wish we'd talk about that leak thing.
Well, I'm just,
OB1, right?
Yep.
there was something on here, I gotta see where it was.
I noticed that there were some recommended changes submitted by.
Yes,
By the clerk. That what we're voting on, or are we voting on the original?
No, it'd be the
I got
changes.
both of them.
It's just for discussion, if you want to
Yeah.
adopt
Well,
this,
this is just for discussion today?
if you want to go with the ones that's been changed, or if it needs more work, you gotta,
Well, I've got some discussion. It's just for discussion. Why 50% of the excess? It seemed to me to be excessive. If we labeled it as excess, why aren't we making them pay it?
where you at, Herb? What part of it?
Maybe there is a certain number.
Well, they're asking for a credit for a
We're asking
leak.
for a credit, yes, of the excess that shows up, and I'm just saying.
Correct.
And they're telling us, we want them to pay 50% of the excess. It just seemed a little high. If we're gonna call it excess, why are we?
Well,
suggesting-
whatever leaked
excess
out,
water that leaked out.
whatever
that
leaked
they
out,
didn't
we're gonna
use.
split the bill with them? Is
That was
what
in the
means?
original. That was in the original
That's what
part.
we were talking about.
We,
This came from City of
we
St.
did
Clair.
it, and these things
Obviously.
come to the board on occasion, and we've never split the bill with them. We've either voted it up or voted it down.
Exactly. So you're either in or you're out.
We'd either agree that it was excess and we would take it off their bill.
Right.
Or we made them pay it. I don't
Right.
see why we would split it.
I agree. That's why I took that out of my part of it.
Where?
I did not include that in
Oh,
my
okay.
revision, because there were like 3 different ways to, if you read all the way through, that's why I narrowed it down to one solid, I just kind of tried to condense things and eliminate, like this application for the leak adjustment credit.
50% she's talking about.
Right in the form, it says they will not do the irrigation system, but it's on this form to
Right,
check it off. So I say scratch that off, take that off. Form must be returned with your completed application, or the application will not be processed, period. Not will be returned to you.
What I was talking about is item 7 on the first page.
What's that, Herb? Or,
What I was talking about is item 7 on the
Gotcha,
first page.
thank you.
And it jumped right off, grab it.
I don't know, I did not get a chance to speak with Irene, who actually does the utility billing, to see if anything that she saw in here, if she had a chance to even look this over, if these things are even feasible, if they're a problem with our system, or, what we
Well, and
currently have in place
It's my
to,
understanding, I sent it to Cindy and to Wendy a week ago or so, and I believe it was forwarded to Irene and Blaine?
They were the originators of this original. They worked on this together. I took Wendy out of the mix because she really hasn't been involved in this.
Right.
But the DPW supervisor and the.
I knew the
utility billing clerk
DPW Blaine
were
did, but I
involved
didn't
from the
know.
beginning and were presented with as a sample policy from a nearby community to
Right.
kind of use as a template.
So Ralph says we get rid of the and 50%, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if an adjustment is warranted,
Why is it in here now?
could we drop, you know? I don't
Well,
see- I don't
the
see
way I
we
read that is we're
charge-
splitting the bill with them
If
if it
it's
was a-
if it's warranted, we should drop that that piece of the charge. If it's not warranted, we don't drop it. And I have one other one, it says in there, they're only allowed to do this every 2 years.
Yeah,
And I was wondering, why every 2 years? Why not every 18 months? Why not every 36 months? Why not every 1 year? Why ever put it in there in the first place?
right. And I thought of, and how do you determine, I guess you'd have to look back on their, you know, if the house is sold, obviously that starts again, you know.
Well, I think that all originated with, it's not the township's responsibility if the homeowner does not maintain their toilet. If the toilet
Right.
leaks and leaks water through it or whatever else, or they don't have their pipes insulated well enough and it freezes in the wintertime,
Right,
why should the residents of East China, through taxes and sewer and water rates, pay for the cost of the lost water, because it's a loss to us? So
Well,
we
they pay
kind
for
of
the
put that in
water.
there to keep them to
They
do
pay for
that.
the water regardless. They're asking for a sewer credit.
This
And
is
the
sewer
portion that
credit
didn't go through the sewer system for
They
processing.
have to pay for the
That's all they get a
water.
credit
They
on.
they have to pay for the water.
I thought they were asking for part of the water too.
In that case, I
We've
didn't
never-
see that part in there, Vern.
We've never given
It should not be
the
in there.
water part.
It's only, the credit is only for,
It's a sewer credit,
as a
basically.
sewer credit based on the amount of water they lost.
If it did not go through the sewer system, if the water went through the sewer system in a leak, we paid to process it, they don't get a credit.
Yes, I agree.
In the past, that's.
Well, in item 7, it just says that, doesn't say anything about, it just says customer's bill, it doesn't say sewer or water.
See, this is from somewhere else.
It
This
is.
isn't
Yeah.
our, this is,
Right. We welcome suggestions. What we need is something in place that when
So-
the utility billing clerk gets a phone call
You're
and
saying
disputes their bill,
regardless, no water credit.
where does she go with that? And we can direct them to follow the
I see.
process.
In that
Whatever
case,
that
I
is.
think they made a mistake when they put this together. They're talking about water. We use the water to figure out how much the sewer bill should be.
Yeah, again, this
The only thing that we
is
ever
someone
talked-
else's. It was just brought on kind of
Okay.
as a
The
sample.
only
We were
ever
looking
talked about
for,
before was sewer.
input.
We would give them a sewer credit.
All right,
as a-
well-
as a clerk.
do you want us to start
question
over
is
and
what
look
was
for a
wrong with
sample
the
that
Yeah, I would.
changes?
We
the-
didn't have a
Maybe you
policy
need
at
to
all.
review this again
Okay.
and address it.
it was
from
just the way
sewer
we
point
did
of
things,
view,
and now
All right.
everything
the
has
water
to be in
point of view.
writing, and there has to be a policy and a resolution, and.
We had a form, but we had no policy. So someone came in, filled out a form and signed it. Blaine signed it when they went and checked out the leak.
I know, we had a system in place for a long, long time, and now it's not
Like, can we
that way.
just sit down and have someone write out that system that was used for the last 50 years?
Yeah.
Instead of stealing something from a city that,
Well, that's
And
why I
trying to
rewrote
adapt
the
it.
whole thing, to condense it down to the
it's
bare
like our
bones.
zoning ordinance, we steal
we
it from other
use.
communities and it's horrible. It doesn't
Ralph,
apply
can
to
we
anything.
kick this back to their asset meeting thing for review then? Can we do it that way? And then bring it back? You okay with that?
well, I think this is like an internal policy, so I
It needs
guess,
to be reviewed. I
Yeah.
did not realize that they were talking, when I was going through this, did not realize they were talking about adjusting the water bill. We have never done that. I would not agree with
That's the way I took it, as it doesn't spell it out separately, so.
that. I think it needs to be reviewed.
All right, it's postponed for now.
So you're
What I'm
tabling
gonna
it again?
Yes, I am.
What I'm going to suggest is I'll have the department head go back kind of and look at the intent of it. And we do need something written so that our staff knows
Right.
what to tell the customers.
yes,
We
definitely.
can't just say, write a letter and go before the board. We need to know that the customer
There's a
has
policy in
asked
place
us
for
to
this.
go through some steps, and we've asked them to go through some steps. And once we've gone through all those steps, if they still believe that we're wrong, and they're right, then they have the option to appeal to the board, but the board would be given all of the information that had preceded their request.
But they're not gonna get this credit
in any event unless it goes to the board first.
That is correct. That's the intent of it.
Okay, new business. Mr. Anthony, DWSRF tentative award.
We need to table that.
We did.
Yes, table.
We didn't make a motion.
I'll make a motion to table this.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hereby tabled.
You're gonna table Anthony too?
About ready to.
I'm sure you'd like to.
We're warmed up, Anthony, your turn.
Apparently, yeah. So, the DWSRF. So, I wanted to give a little background because there's been talked about numbers and budgets and how things are being paid for what. So, I don't want any confusion on how an SRF loan is funded, right? So, the state creates bonds. Those are investment grade that we developed and paid for with financial advisors and bond counsel. Those bonds are then sold by the state, which then we can draw from. They become funds, right? So they get funded, and we can draw from them. And the amount that we can go for, sometimes there's extra money in the state revolving fund, like with clean water, with sanitary sewer this year. Sometimes they had a cutoff, and they said that's all we had, 460 some million, I believe it was, for the year, and that's what they have to create these bonds, right? So we told them in our project plan that we need 6.528 million, right? And so they, through some fighting, we got them to include us in the fundable range, right? Because there was very strict points scoring system, right? And so we were able to get them to award us the points that we earned correctly, get it all put with a project manager, et cetera. So with that being said, whatever our bids come in at, whatever our final numbers come in at, that's what actually gets bonded. And so what they do to try to forecast that is they have the bond counsel and the municipal financial advisors prepare a limit not to exceed. So the authority had a limit not to exceed of 6.5. They just did an even 6.5 million. 28,000 wasn't considered. So not to exceed that. So that avoids problems with the SRF program saying, sorry, we don't have over that, right? And that's where we're at, and that hopefully all our bids come in under those amounts, right? Well, I say that because if you have the 6.5 up in the bond, you can draw from it. If you ask for 6.3, you've given away 200,000 in that bond that you'd have availability for. So that's why in the last board meeting, I said, let's have enough in the bond for an engineer to have another inspector, because we have an open cut section of water main and we have a directional boring set, and they all want to do work at the same time. So it's there available for us to draw from, right? So with that being said, with the bidders, we had to waive some irregularities on the open water main portion, because the second bidder would put us over our 6.5, right? The other, when you add all three projects, the meter pits, the south portion with valve replacements, and the north portion of water main replacement, going with the second bidder on the south portion would put us over 6.5, which would open a whole can of worms, right? So that was the reason in our meetings we waived irregularities when the lowest bidder for the south portion, TR Piperzak, had made a mistake in their bid and forgot materials costs for the valve. When they made the correction to their bid, they were still the lowest bidder. So, with that being said, we've been through 3 project managers with Eagle, with the state. The first one that started us out, Cindy Clendenin. The second one, I believe, was Kathy Roeder. I don't know for sure if she was the second one, but then she immediately left Eagle, and a new person, Valerie White, became our representative who's handling everything. So with the bids, we were given a permit for all our water main on July 6th, which allows us to publish the bid. Without a permit, you can't publish. But they hadn't yet reviewed all our contract book, and they said you can go ahead and publish the bid and you can select bidders, right? So we put in that prevailing wages of the locality is required in our bid documents, because that's standard language that we have. Now, if our reviewer is to say something more stringent, such as Davis-Bacon compliance, which is federal wages, then we would put it, right? She didn't get back to, we opened the bids on August 3rd, you know the bid results. She didn't get back to us till August 22nd to tell us, oh no, Davis-Bacon wages will be required. So with that being said, we look at, okay, where are we at? Obviously, the second bidder is Body Construction. We asked Body Construction, who won the meter pit portion. We asked DVM, who won the north portion. Did you understand that it's Davis-Bacon compliance? Yes, we did. No problem. Signed addendum, same day as we sent it. We asked TR Piper Zach, did you understand that it's Davis-Bacon wages? Answer, no, we didn't understand it. So then we have to say, well, how much is it with Davis-Bacon wages? And some back and forth, they came back to us with $167,000. So $167,000 puts us just under the $6.5 million we have in our bond. So we still don't have the option of going to the second bidder, because that would throw us over. They're still lower. They're still the lowest bidder by $300,000. But they basically said, in order for them to comply and sign the addendum we need them to sign to satisfy the state, they need $167,000 more added to their amount. So previously, the amount was $2.99 million something. Now it's 3.165798, and I have that resolution here. So the resolution has to be approved so that we can complete our loan application to Part 3, which is, technically it was due the 29th of August, but because I told them, you didn't tell us till the 22nd of August that you had concerns or any revision requirements on our contract book, we have to wait till the next board meeting, which is September 6th, today. So that's why it's imperative that, you guys look at this. We've thought out what's the best option. The money's there in the bond. They're still the lowest bidder. So that's why we said, we've already made a precedence for waiving irregularities. And at this point in time, we just want to make sure that the project's successful and, get to the part where we're getting the contractors, a notice to proceed, they're getting materials, and, we're keeping a tight watch on the rest of it. So that's the long and short of the situation there. So I guess if you guys want to discuss it, open it to discussion. But the municipal advisors have done the revisions and everything's been calculated, so we're ready to go with this. If this is what you guys are going to go with. So.
Anybody have any questions on that?
I don't like it, but
I don't really have a choice at this point.
any other solution or option is even worse.
So,
I agree.
Yeah, it'd be a $400,000 addition.
Yeah.
I do have one question though, since this is a DRS funds, it's sort of water authority. Well, I got hold of the damn special meeting.
No,
This will be satisfactory?
yes, because you already did not to exceed a 6.5.
Yep.
So we're covered there.
Any other questions? Anthony, on the top of the resolution here, you got DWSRF. Then you refer down here further to Michigan's Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund. Is it supposed to be LRF, DWRF, okay?
Looking at the thing here.
We refer to it to a lot of different things. DWSRF I've seen, so.
Oh, drinking water, DWRF.
we
Yeah,
got-
loan fund, that would be just a,
Should it be, I
the,
gotta read this, so I want it right.
so the official name is Michigan's Drinking Water State, so, see, because they say Michigan, you don't need to say state revolving.
So
Loan
should it
fund.
say Michigan's
Drinking
drinking water
revolving.
system improvements, or water system improvements?
It's written correctly, it's two different titles.
I think it's fine as written,
Oh, you okay with it that way?
Yes.
I believe so.
It was in the last one too.
Was it that same language in the last one?
And we just needed China after there.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'll read this aloud. East China Township Resolution 21-2022 is a resolution to tentatively award the construction contract, drinking water system improvements. Whereas Charter Township of East China wishes to construct improvements to its existing water treatment and distribution system, and whereas the water system improvements project formally adopted on June 21st, 2021, will be funded through the state of Michigan's Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund Program, and whereas Charter Township of East China has received construction bids for the proposed improvements and has received a low bid in the amount of $3,165,798 from TR Pipe Zach Incorporated, and whereas the township's engineer, Project Control Engineering Incorporated, has recommended awarding the contract to the low bidder. Now therefore be resolved, Charter Township of East China tentatively awards the contract for construction of the proposed water system improvements project to TR Pipe Zach Company Incorporated, contingent upon successful financial arrangements with the Drinking Water Revolving Fund.
I'll support that.
I make that motion and Ralph supports it, okay? Clerk, please call the roll.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Nuts?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Thank you, Anthony. New business two, approval of the bidding documents for the trail and bike path for the Bridge to Bay. This is follow-up to our grant that we received. PCE and Anthony have prepared these for us, and we'd like to get these out to bid. If you want, take a look at it. There will be one change. We're going to have an additional pay item, saw cut and remove existing asphalt, 1,980 square yards of that too. We may not do this project this year now. It might have to fall into next year. We have 2 years to do the project, but it's just, it's September. I don't want to be monkeying around down at the park in October trying to remove and replace asphalt with the weather, how it gets in October. It can rain, it never dries up, it gets cold. I guess we put it on the agenda so you guys can see that the bidding documents are here. If you have any questions or comments, if not, we can approve them. And
So, I'd just make a comment. So, Blaine had sent me today at 3:30, he sent me additional areas of asphalt to get enough volume to meet the loans, because right now we're about half what we should be.
we looked at the
in terms
the
of
unit
volumes,
costs and
so.
what the prevailing monies are out there right now. We wouldn't come close to being
Yeah.
what the project needs to be at.
Needs to be at.
So we were going to increase those a little bit, but we still reserve the right to increase or decrease them as needed. But by getting it more accurate, we might get a better price because it's more
We're
work.
doing it in the, increase in the park, or are they gonna going out towards Marine City?
It's all within the park still.
All within-
And then the cemetery,
For right
right?
now.
I think he was gonna, he
Yeah.
said he was gonna look at
Yeah,
some stuff there.
and we want to include as an alternate, we have 50,000 been budgeted for and set aside for some asphalt work at the cemetery. I think it shows up in your line item as a cemetery parking lot, but that's not what it is. It's the last roadway that's in there. We're going to add that to this as a second proposal, as an option to get a price. It's a similar project, exactly the same contractor was going to do the same thing. So we have the money in their budget, and we're going to see if we can get that done. So we're going to try and get these out on the street for bids and see what we get, but I can't guarantee you that's going to happen this year. So,
Yeah, by the time you get bids and all
Bids,
that,
Are you saying
yeah.
it out?
What's that? No,
When you put it out for bids, are you putting out the bids to the contractor knows that you want the work to be done in the spring?
well, I need to talk to Anthony about that.
I don't know.
We have so there's a timetable for the project to be completed.
Yeah,
We just need to make
You
sure.
wouldn't make them bid it now. They'd be bidding, trying to get done before November, and when you really don't want them to start anyway.
So ideally, you would want to give a bid to contractors when they're slow, because they're in the office and they're not doing anything, versus right now, they're all rushing to finish before October, when everything turns south on them. And so you may get much more bidders
Okay, what you
if
don't
you
say
bid
is you're
it.
gonna give them a bid
I
turn.
would definitely bid it.
It's kinda late.
Yeah, I would bid it when the weather's inclement, and that way, and tell them they got until this time to finish it.
Okay.
And
we
that'll be,
don't know what the weather's gonna do, though.
right, we don't know, but,
Are they gonna hold their numbers that long?
I was gonna say, yeah, is it gonna be more in the spring?
well, I mean, I'm thinking generally like January is usually bad weather here, so that's when we would bid the project.
I think
when
we,
those guys are slow.
I think we get this prepared.
Yeah.
And I think we bid it in February.
Yeah.
Because everybody can plan for the spring work.
That would be ideal for
Because
prices.
we're gonna rush this year and it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
So, but,
Cost of this project, so that we can get the,
that's the plan. It's gonna have cemetery on there as well.
Yeah.
they will give us $180.
And we can put that on Mitten,
Project
You
has
know,
to
we can-
cost more than 200.
we can do
Right.
it properly.
Yeah.
That's why
Get
he's
it out
trying to drive up
to
the price.
contractors.
Yeah.
Up the price.
Well, we'll bid it out in February.
It's a good
Yeah,
thing.
I mean,
No,
Not a bad thing.
right.
advertise it.
Get it redone and get it ready.
Sure.
We don't need any action on that right now.
We don't?
Okay.
For them to move forward and get it ready for,
Are we gonna vote to get bids in February?
Yeah, we'll do it before that, but I want it redone.
Redone?
There's too many
Are we-
So are you
additions that aren't.
motioning to table?
Yeah, we're gonna have to table it because Lane didn't get that to Anthony until today. It was too late to put on there. We
Okay.
wanna
Just gonna
include that.
table till next time then? Or do you wanna authorize him to go out for bids?
No, we're gonna table it for now, and then we'll bring it back
Table.
prepared the way it's supposed to be prepared.
Okay.
I'll support.
who made the motion?
All right, and Nicole supported it.
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Ralph?
I think Nicole supported it.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Good idea.
So,
You got more?
Update the plans with what Lane gave you, add the cemetery onto it, we'll bring it back.
Okay.
And then approve it for February bid. Okay,
yes.
new business, 3. You might as well stay standing there, Anthony.
So,
Did you bring the bigger ones, or did you not?
I did not, but I brought the budget, because I wanted to,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't know I was presenting, so, yeah, the construction plans I brought to our committee meeting on Thursday. But I wanted to go over a little bit of the specifications and then our engineer's estimate, so I do have that ready.
It's a preliminary construction plans and concept drawings, along with a estimate of construction costs for the DPW building and the township hall. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's do DPW.
Okay?
So, the DPW proposed site is Recor Road and Point Drive, but with a driveway out onto Recor Road. It's approximately a 1,440 square foot footprint. And our total budget, construction cost is $471,575. And so then the total budget with testing, engineering, and contingency is $622,479 is our engineer's estimate cost. There's a wash bay, which the discharge permits are now causing every municipality to have appropriate wash bays because they won't allow equipment being washed into a catch basin. Violates the MS4 discharge permits. So that's a part of that building. And then the two bays of drive-in and then an office. Basically it is, with locker rooms and a break room is the layout. You probably have smaller copies. Okay, so yeah, 11 by 17s actually print out pretty good, so in size. But anyway, I guess obviously the final design will depend a lot on funding, right? So you can take out doors, add doors, insulated bay, things related to the office space. So we'll plan on presenting, I guess, plans at a certain time.
Well, I think PC pretty much completed their scope of their project that we've approved them for, and
Right.
that's what this is, you guys. If there's any huge concerns that anybody sees or anything like that, whatever questions, the same thing on the Township Hall side too.
Yeah.
We
so-
can make that incorporation and then complete him out on this. This is what we've asked him to do for us so far, so we have an idea of what it's gonna cost and a concept.
Township Hall addition, it was 1,292 square feet roughly for the footprint. And construction cost total is $317,741 is our estimated budget. And then total project with engineering and inspection, et cetera, is $428,320. So, and I do believe we looked at some doors or window replacements, having the appropriate quantities
The
that
only
it could
question
be
I have
done.
on this is with those three elected folks and the manager here, are they happy with this design? Is this what they wanted? I really don't care, as long as you got what you said. Have you all checked out this design and are happy with it?
This was the sketch that I provided to them. It was a rough sketch, based on what input I got.
Yeah, we looked it over in the asset meeting, but,
It involved more office space and a conference room.
yeah, there's
appropriate
4 new
size.
offices and a conference room included in this addition, just for people listening.
And I know we had talked about offices, like for Deanna, would she have one in here, or? I know there's
It's
2 office
possible.
spaces.
Well, I don't think we've designated any of them yet for anything, but,
Okay.
just
I'm just
a
making
little bit
sure
of
we
room
have
for
enough.
expansion, you
Yeah.
know?
We did also suggest a break room,
Yeah.
because they have this little tiny closet to
Mhm.
eat in.
That's actually already accommodated for the room that I'm in is the break room.
Yeah, we're gonna make Cindy's.
Oh.
It has
break room
plumbing
now.
and everything, I
Revert
believe.
back
Put her in
to
the
a
back.
break room.
Okay, so that's,
That'll revert back.
Okay, I just wondered if they got their 2 cents worth in.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? If you do, please submit them
What
soon, or we're gonna close this out.
Yeah, I just say one last thing on this, is what I mentioned in the committee is, so congressional spending requests come in annually, and they can be tied to specific programs. So if you're looking for what roughly amounts to $1 million in municipal building projects, I would recommend going to, we have usually three congressmen that, or congresswomen, I think Lisa McLean, Debbie Stabenow, and
Gary Peters
Gary
and Lisa
Peters.
McLean. And I've
And
already
they
contacted
request.
them all.
Yep, they request things. It's past that cycle, so they'd be going into it'd be next year's cycle, so early.
I have a
early
very
in the-
large list of people
Yeah.
I'm gonna contact to try to squeeze money
winter,
out of, to try to
that
get
would be
these
good.
projects done.
Yeah, so
They look for
government's
these-
throwing money all over the place.
They look for those plans, and they look
Curb's
for
on the list.
budget estimates,
I'm gonna stop at his house.
which we say then we're shovel-ready projects.
No, I'll stop at Ralph's too, but I don't think he'll
is
get
it
money.
state funded then? Is it
They're
like a grant?
federal, those are federally subsidized,
Total dollars?
so they dump it into one of the programs that you participate in. It could be a FEMA program, it could be they come from all different, sort of state program. So they don't know how to administer that program. They know how to get money earmarked. So they earmark it, they let that program basically administer it. So it's all spent right. And they'll just pick their projects that they think are gonna, suit their goals, right, to their
We're gonna
constituents.
go be a little squeaky wheel,
That's
see
all.
what we can get.
Yeah, that's.
Good, okay.
We have
That's
numerous
good.
sources we're gonna go to.
We're not gonna-
Community Foundation, everybody.
Obviously, PEC has spent some money in order to prepare these documents. Do we need a vote on it?
We already did.
We did that at the last
We
meeting.
did at the last meeting? Okay. I wasn't
we did.
at the last
Oh, that's right.
Well, the one for the DPW was done in May,
Yep.
May 2nd meeting, that was approved. And then the last
Yeah.
meeting, we did the one for the Township Hall.
meeting.
Okay,
This meeting usually
if you do have any comments or
Yeah.
questions, please forward them to me in the next week. New business for Trimble GPS data collector quote. This is for Blaine. They go out and mark curb stops and manholes and everything else with the GPS. It's accurate. It goes on a master plan. It goes through, I believe it's called M-Follower, if the program that does it, but it's so we can accurately know where all everybody's curb stop is for the water, the manhole covers, catch basins, things like that, especially if it's under snow in the wintertime, we gotta get to a manhole, we know right where it's at. But it's that way there, if it gets covered with dirt, we know where they're at. But that's just something, that's an additional tool that he needs. It is budgeted for. So that's what that is. And I make a motion to approve that.
It's not only water, you got this,
It's for
all
every,
the sewer lines too.
yeah, it's everything. Yeah, it's $8,580. I'll make a motion to approve it.
I have a question.
Yep.
Some time ago, we discussed trying to get the actual files that we spent a lot of money on from our engineer, not PCE,
From Wade Trim.
that documented the location of our entire system. Did we ever get those?
I have no idea.
Yes,
We did.
that was part of the whole Empower onboarding process.
Okay.
Not only that, we got a SEMCOG grant that helped us update it.
Say that.
Excellent.
Okay.
We have that, you just want to make sure your Trimble device can access those files. Probably, that price sounds good.
This is a good idea. There's a stuff buried around here. that
Did you
need
make
to
the
know where
motion?
it's at.
I did.
I'll support.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Did you get a second?
Yeah, Herb.
Yes. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Nuts?
Yes.
Trustee Ridgely?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. New business 5. New business, we have a DPW truck quote. I don't know if you've read through your information. The GM dealership responded back with an excellent quote through the buy deal, which gives us a heck of a good price. Ford said they can't even get us a truck. They won't accept any new offers. I've heard that as well for anybody. And the Dodge, they did not respond either. So that leaves us with the GM quote, which that's what our fleet is now, is all
Is this,
GMCs.
is this an MI deal response from
Yes.
Yeah,
GMC? or
yeah.
is this-
My deals is through the state. That's where we buy the
That's where
vehicles.
we get this, this is not us alone against GMC. This is through
Correct.
MI deal.
That's just to procure the vehicle, right?
What I'm getting at, I read this, it sounded like MI deal had dropped completely out of it. Is that not the case? Is this an MI deal response, or is this just between Blaine and this dealer?
It's through my deals.
It
This
is
is
through
the,
my deal.
this is the dealer that he
There's
has to
only
work
one
with,
deal-
right?
Only one dealer
I believe it's
responded.
only one, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is this a budgeted item?
Yes, it is. The budget
What-
is right
Does it
there.
replace a truck?
Yes, it is.
What happens to the other truck?
He'll dispose of it or send it on somewhere
Is it
else.
a trade-in?
No, they don't take trades on that. That truck that he's got now is pretty rough. We would like to maybe reutilize it somewhere, I think.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Are we gonna realize it,
Yeah.
or are we gonna sell it?
And I
Or
asked him
bids, yeah, go up
to
for
tell me
bids.
what condition it really is in and if it's worth it or not, if it needs completely new brakes, rotors, blah, 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 I don't want to spend a lot of money
We've
on
got
it.
along with the number of trucks that we have just fine. I would think that the old truck, that whatever it's getting rid of.
Oh, you can hear it
should be
coming a mile
disposed
away.
of
It's
for whatever we
It's got
can
an
get
exhaust
for it.
manifold leak and it's in rough shape, but
We should dispose of it for whatever we can get, because that will reduce the purchase price of the truck.
it's going to be up to, we're going to
Yes.
dispose of it and get what we can. But he has $55,000 budgeted for this and a trailer, so this is going to use $37,102 of
That's
that.
fine.
And I make a motion to approve it.
We can get $5,000 for his old truck, and then it only costs us
Support.
$32,000.
I'd love to see him get that.
Roll
Any
call
other
vote.
discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Nuts?
Yes.
Trustee Ridgely?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. New business number 6. MERS and OPEB, these are, everybody should be familiar with this. I was the only one that wasn't really up to speed on this stuff, but basically, we need to get up to the percent funding that's needed for the retirement and the healthcare, and this is a scheduled budgeted item for this year.
I did one question, Cindy can probably answer. If we're at 114% of what was required for the OPEE, why are we putting in more money?
It's in the budget, but it's your choice whether to allocate it.
Do we need to put in more money in it for 114% funded?
You're funded. You were not funded when they started doing this back in 2008.
Oh, I know we weren't, but
Right.
it just
So
said
that-
in
that
this report, it says we are
was
now
brought
at
to your attention,
114%.
right.
Why are we putting in more money? That's the question.
It was in the budget, and we didn't have our OPEB valuation report when we did the budget last year, so we put it in there because it had been historically done. We received the OPEB valuation last month, and that's when we got the news that it's
Okay,
not
but
only
It's
funded.
already
it's-
been paid out of this year, so we can't stop the payment or something.
No, it's in the budget. You have not made the transfer yet.
The 50 is not in the 114% yet, Ralph, if that's what you're asking. We talked about this earlier today.
If the 50's not in the 114%, by the time it gets there, we're gonna be 100 and what, 30?
Well, that's part of the OPEB valuation that
It's a
they do
moving
every 2
target.
years. So in 2 years, we'll know where we're at if we continue to put money in.
Yeah, we
I'm
discussed
getting
it.
at is why do we need to put any more money in? It looks like we're properly funded already.
Well, costs keep going
That's
up,
for the
too.
board to
We've,
discuss and
yeah,
decide.
we talked about today, Ralph, what we thought, leave it there because we don't know what's gonna happen to healthcare and everything else. Our contract's just renewed, and then we'll have a new valuation to work with for
We can
next
do
year.
evaluation next year, we can add something into the budget. We just got through a big arguments about who's got what money. Here's $50,000 that we're giving to somebody to stick in their bank account that they don't need.
Yeah, well, if we're gonna do anything with it, we turn around and give it to the MERS, because we're only 62% funded there. We're,
I don't care what you do with it.
you know,
We might have some better use for it than it laying up in the OPBE trust fund that we've already overfunded. It doesn't make any sense, I'm sorry, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Is
We've
action,
got better uses for that 50 grand.
is action one required?
action
your
one's
actions
required. We
here?
can't do anything less than
That's
75.
why I've worded it very specifically that
Yeah.
way.
Okay, let's vote on by action. I'm gonna vote for one and against two. The rest of you are gonna do.
So you need a motion for action one, right? I'll make a motion, we approve action one, as
Second.
stated.
75,000 to the MERS DB plan. Is there a second?
Second.
Ralph
Matt
did.
supported it.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
Mhm.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Action two. Approve an additional payment of $50,000 to the OPEB trust. Healthcare. As budgeted for. Well, I guess I make a motion to approve and then we go from there. Get a second, and then if we vote it down, we vote it down. How's that? Gotta do something with it.
Okay. I'll support it.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote. Treasurer Hart?
No.
Treasurer Babel? Trustee Babel?
No.
Trustee Blackstock?
No.
Trustee Natz?
No.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, no. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Motion fails. That one. All right.
Can I ask a real quick question?
Mhm.
What percent would it be without that 50,000? Would it be still 114%?
It's 114,000.
Okay, I got you.
114%,
I got you.
but we don't really know how that'll affect it next year. It's kind of an investment
Next year, we'll worry about it
company,
next year.
so if your stocks go down, it can go down.
So we just reevaluate next year?
I think it's every 2 years, isn't it, Cindy?
Nailed every 2 years.
They
Okay.
do an estimate annually, they'll do an actual deep dive reevaluation every other year as required.
Do an estimate next year, but
Looks like it's going down to about this money.
Yeah.
How much do we have to be funded? There is a limit, 90, 80, 90%, something.
I don't know off the top of my head for the OPEB.
As long as it doesn't drop below a certain limit, we don't get pinged.
Okay, request for training at the water plant, ongoing training for our water plant employees.
I recommend it. I'm always in favor of training our folks. That's how we keep them, that's how we also keep people who can move up or do other duties, and I recommend that this be approved.
That's a motion.
Support.
Any other discussion?
I do have one quick question. Why is one up in consent agenda and one is down in new business?
The other
For
one's
the
a
same action item?
It's not.
It's different guys, but you're right.
I
it's the same
understand.
kind of action.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of action.
The collective bargaining agreement allows for the township manager to approve any request for training up to $500.
Good answer.
Okay,
So this one exceeds
so up to
500.
500,
Yes, this was $1,000.
okay,
Takes the board approval.
I gotcha.
Okay.
All
Any other
right, roll,
questions? Go ahead.
roll call vote. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. New Business 8, requested for training at the DPW. Talked to Blaine about this. It's ongoing training for this, it's basically OSHA training. One's trench safety and awareness, the other one's for competent person, which is on the description there. It's qualified personnel, so they know the ins and outs of the excavation and safety of it, and
It's confined space.
and to go ahead and overview it, or to oversee the work. It's coming
Trench
from-
safety, it's like confined spaces, it's a requirement.
And he wants all operators to be sent to these events for training and certification. He's got it in his budget for this.
I have a question.
Yes, sir?
The logistics of this, we're not gonna be without a DPW for a day, are we?
No, they don't go at the
They're
same time.
staggered?
They don't go at the same
Well, they
time.
just mentioned carpooling in there, so,
Yeah,
Part-time job, Herb.
no thanks.
yeah. We got a cover for the day, or 3 days, I guess.
Yeah, Blaine will handle it. I recommend that we approve the training requested by Blaine for DPW people for trench safety and competent person training.
For the $2,114.25.
Total cost of, was that kind of last page? A total cost of $2,114.25 plus daily wages.
Support.
Questions?
Roll call vote. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. Final item, the invoice for the municipal financial advisor for the clean water, which is the sewer part, I believe. This is the dollar amount that we talked about before. It's $20,800 to be approved of the payment. It comes out of the bond fund for that, for the sewer
Oh, we
side.
did this once. That was just a
So it's
proposal. This is
basically,
actually paying. Got it.
It's already been
Invoice.
discussed before we approved it, so
Yeah.
I'll make that a motion.
Support.
moved and supported. Clerk, please hold the roll.
Roll call vote. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Westrick?
Yes. All right. Announcements, got one.
Good night, thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. State Tax Commission at the August 23rd, 2022 meeting. The achievement, approved a certificate of achievement for the receiving a perfect score on the 2022 AMAR review. I just wanted to make it aware. Everybody got a copy of it in here.
Good job, good job.
Yeah, so they get a good pat on the back. I think that was it. Retirement corrective action plan monitoring, we see that here?
Not me. That's your assessment.
We already talked about that too. And this is the check for the bike path. We received the $100,920, we have to match that. And that's about it.
Pass the coast over, sir. This will probably look cash.
Any other comments?
I have a couple.
Okay.
I would just want to thank everybody for voting to send me, the three of us, to the conference in Frankenmuth for the cemetery stuff. It was very informative. I learned a lot. We got a lot of nice ideas to bring back to the Cemetery Advisory Commission. And I really appreciated going there. And second of all, on Walnut Street there, and just turning on from Point Drive onto Walnut, there's a house there that has like 4 or 5 vehicles that are unlicensed. They're half pulled apart. Is there anything we can do about that? I've had several people come up to me and ask me about it.
On the code enforcer.
Code enforcement,
Yeah, I think I've got the same email maybe, but I'm gonna ask Code to go out and take a look at that.
One question. Oh, if you're done.
Yeah.
Are we having a picnic this year or no?
Well, we got $50,000 that Ralph didn't spend, we could use, maybe, I guess. Big
Just
cookout.
curious. We had them for a while.
We've had them every year, or what?
Many years.
Well, that's probably in the clerk's duty somehow to organize
It
that.
used to be.
Well, it
my
still is,
office,
and that's the way it's always been
Now
done.
that COVID hit, everything's changed, so
That's the way it's always been done. so-
perhaps we can
No,
talk
I
about
hate
it
to
for
have
next
somebody
year.
say
It's in your recreation budget. It was put in the budget, and it would be something that your recreation advisory board would bring before you as a suggestion.
Yeah, I thought I saw it in there too as a line
Who's
item.
on our Recreation Advisory Board?
The Park Commission. We can only make recommendations, and we take them to Cindy, and then Cindy takes them to you, and she comes back to us, and then it goes to you.
Gotcha.
So we can try and
Are you
maybe
saying
come
do it
October
this year
first.
still, or
No,
too late?
Yeah,
I don't
Depending
think
on
you
the
have
weather.
to come to me. I think I
Or
would be
forego it
happy to
this year
serve
and
as
until
a
you
Day of
question.
September, it's how we
You're
usually.
welcome to come to the meetings and present what's going on with
Does
the.
anyone else have any other comments, questions for the meeting?
Nope, that's it.
Anybody else?
I mean, just to the last minute, we generated
I'll make a
$75,000. What are we already?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Thank you. Is there support to that?
9:17.
Support.
Ms. Hart, support.
You don't have to
All
come
in
to
favor,
me
say
for
aye.
permission. It's just like the Cemetery Commission. They come up with